How are we doing, everyone? Welcome back to the course. In this video, we're going to be talking about economic data. So economic data comes at the bottom of the hierarchy list when it comes to the importance of these macroeconomic data. But economic data does play a part, and it is crucial that we understand how it works and how it's going to affect the markets and affect our trading if we want to succeed. So economic data refers to news, meetings, and figures from central banks and governments, such as unemployment data, interest rates, gross domestic product, conferences, and PMI data, all these different things, okay? And the data shows economic performance over a specified time. So we have monthly data, we have quarterly data, we have annual reports on different topics, and we can even have weekly data as well on employment. So data comes in all different shapes and sizes, and it will all affect the market one way or the other. So the main thing with economic data is the fact that it causes price spikes. Okay, volatility is increased, and the price spikes can interfere with trades, and they can also provide good trading opportunities if we can gauge where the market is going to go. Economic data causes common interferences. We have economic data releases almost every single day. It's never going to go away. Economics are always going to run the markets, so that's why it's important to keep on top of the game, keep in line with the data, in line with data releases, and be ready to either avoid it or trade in line with it. Different economic data has varied impact levels, so we have different levels of importance across different data. Some data is going to have a massive effect, and some isn't even going to move the markets at all. So high impact economic data then refers to the direct economic drivers that relate to the state of the economy. So we're looking at things like gross domestic product and unemployment data. Okay, these things have large effects on the market. So these types of economic data are big market influences that cause large moves and can cause long-term effects. Okay, and things like this are the interest rates that we spoke about previously, and also employment. Okay, this will drag down an economy longer term, while the economic data will actually only provide short-term spikes. We can then extend into longer-term effects. So if we can see unemployment is on the rise, this is of course going to affect an economy and can lead to interest rates being increased or cut, and monetary policy statements then forming some bigger information that's going to drive the market. We also have then a medium and low impact data. So this is low importance data and figures. We don't really have too much focus here, okay? It's going to divert our attention from all the other important factors of economic data, geopolitical events, and the central bank information as well. So we only want to focus on the high impact data. And even then, we need to keep our focus limited so that we can keep our mind focused on all the other areas of trading that are more important. Few different types of high impact data here then. We've got the long-term effect data. So these are things like interest rates, monetary policies, central bank meetings, and unemployment. Okay, these are the long-term effects that are going to drag the market down. We also have short-term effect high impact data. So this will cause movement in the market and it will cause spikes, but it's not going to drag out in a long-term effect. These are PMI, CPI, GDP data, and retail sales information. All these things worth keeping an eye on, and worth taking note of, worth checking out in your calendar so that you can avoid them each week. But when it comes to trading opportunities, we shouldn't really be focusing on these data, okay? How do we actually then trade economic data? And the simple answer is we don't. We're not going to look to actively trade any news, okay? We're not going to wait for a news release and buy or sell just before the news release to try and catch that spike, because it's very dangerous and it is a gamble. Instead of doing this, we're going to just remain aware and try and manage our trades accordingly. Keep in mind when the data is going to be showing up, and if we think it's going to be high impact and particularly risky for a movement that we are in, we can get out early and secure our profits, or we can, as spoken about in the risk management chapter, utilize our stop loss to cut the risk out of a trade. So how are we going to manage economic data? Here is a little run through. Step number 1 is going to be check an economic calendar. Okay, so these are online, and it's simply a calendar that marks out the low, medium, and high impact economic news that we need to track. It's going to help us to track the upcoming news. It's going to show us the importance of each data release, and it's going to allow us to filter by currency as well. Okay, so looking at this data, this calendar here, we can see we have the different currencies listed: the New Zealand dollar, the pound, the Japanese yen, the euro, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, Swiss franc. You can see that all there. Okay, we have high impact data for all of these different currencies. We are then shown the impact. So we have a medium impact CPI data, and then a lot of low impact data. The only real high impact data marked here is this speech, okay, from the governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia. So personally, we're actually only going to focus on the high impact data. Okay, all of these low and medium impact data don't really drive the market too much. So we're only going to focus on the high impact data. That takes us to step number 2. We want to identify the high impact data. We can filter down the news to just the news we need to focus on. Low and medium impact news cause little to no disruption and can be ignored without taking up focus from other areas of trading. If we can identify this high impact data, we can plan ahead, avoid unneeded losses by being prepared and managing our trades accordingly to either exit trades before the news happens, to avoid trades entirely until the news has gone down, or to protect our positions with stop loss utilization before the data happens. So by identifying this high impact data, we can track the economics of a specific country or global economics without all the little noise. Okay, we can just track interest rates, GDP data, employment data, these G7 meetings, and monetary policy reports without the additional noise of all the little data, the retail sales, the PMI, the CPI data, all these things. Okay, so identifying the high impact data and filtering down to that allows us to just focus on what we really need to focus on and stops our mind getting clouded with too much information. Step 3 then is going to be prepare for the week ahead. So each weekend or each Monday morning, we need to prepare all this data. We need to filter out that high impact data and get a calendar ready, just so that we know when data is going to come up and when it's going to form an issue for us. So if we can identify the times to avoid trading then, so we don't want to trade through interest rate releases, non-farm payroll, which is unemployment data, or any other high impact news, we can avoid losses that way. And if we do prepare for the week ahead by preparing these high impact economic data before the week begins, we can find focused trading pairs with interesting or clear fundamentals. So let's say we've got some interest rate data for the pound coming up. We can actually then know that we're going to have some interesting movements on the pound before and after the news based on increased volatility, okay, and a new sense of clarity when the interest rates drop. Are they cutting rates? Is it going to be negative? Are they raising rates? Is it positive? Or are they leaving the same to keep a stagnant market flow? Preparing for the week ahead is crucial, in my opinion, as we have this famous quote here: failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So we always want to do this, prep that economic data, get ready before the week begins, before the trading sessions begin. And then we know we can trade it safely, clearly, and confidently, knowing we're not going to get caught out by any of this high impact data. So that is all for this economic data video. Hopefully you found some good tips and pointers. Hopefully you understand the high impact economic news and also the economic news that you don't really need to focus too much on. Everything comes together in a hierarchy. We have that central bank data, we've got geopolitical events, and we've got economic data at the bottom of it, okay? And all of these things together are the core of our fundamental analysis trading. In the next video, I'm going to run through each of these three. We're going to look at a conclusion of the fundamental analysis and how we can bring each three of these sections together in order to get a clear and confident understanding and outlook of the fundamental backdrop of the economies and the global economy. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you found some value, and I will see you in the next video.